Welcome everyone to the Walk with Faith podcast. This is Molly Faith and our dear soul family member, Joe. Joe, thank you so much. Can you just fully introduce yourself to people and where you're from?
My name's Joe West. I'm from Florida, or live in Florida, Daytona Beach, Florida now. That I've lived all over the country. Other than that, I don't know what else to say.
Okay. All right. So, Joe, you've had a journey. We've talked about certain things. Could you tell people um actually I'd like to start with what you're doing now. Um in your life. I remember you showing me some really beautiful artwork that you've created.
At the immediate moment, I'm not creating any art or any doing any of that other than the doodles in my book. And then as I get a gift from the creator during my meditation, that I try and draw it to the best of my ability, which is sometimes lacking. But uh, it's for me to help me remember what he has given us. And I believe we touched on that once before, that all the gifts and everything were actually arranged before this lifetime started, that we knew I would have low self-esteem at the time, because I that was one of my questions to him, is why am I getting so many gifts? And he said it was, you arranged it, or we arranged it before this lifetime, because we knew you'd be having so low self-esteem at this point, so it's to help build up my self-esteem.
Right,
um,
right. So, why do you think you signed up in this life to have low self-esteem? Were there Okay, that's the first question. I'll let you answer that first.
Well, actually, I've looked back through this lifetime, and it's to for me to understand and learn all of the lessons that I needed to learn for the next part of my journey. You needed to have, uh, like the childhood I had. I didn't realize the childhood was really bad, but it was because my parents kind of shielded me from it. It was after I turned like 16 or 17 that I realized just how bad of the childhood really was. That, well, I we lived in a 19-foot camping trailer for about 5 to 7 years, and I had one of these dads that when you stay in state parks in a camping trailer, I don't know if you've ever been in one, but they have the shower houses and stuff are actually like out the put it this way, they just don't smell very good. And because the camping spots near them spots were a couple dollars less a night, you know which ones he chose. He chose the camping spots that were up next to the bathrooms and stuff, which in the middle of summer when you're a kid, that's not the put it this way, you didn't hang out at the trailer very much. You were out
Yeah,
in other part of the park.
yeah,
Yeah.
I get that. Yeah. So, could you share if you're comfortable, some of the experiences that you had growing up, on top of that one?
Actually, that one right there is one we were in um, northern Wisconsin, and we're staying at Prentice Park State Park. My dad took the camping spot right next to the porta pot. Well, they're not porta potties; they're built in, but they're like the porta potty where the truck comes by and pumps all of the sewage out of it
Right.
once a week. And that summer, while we were there, I think I was 7 to 9 years old, and I was playing down with some other kids in the park, and then they found out where I lived at and everything like that. And I believe in that was one of the first times I realized that we were poor, and I felt shame. And that would have been the first time I came in contact with Artemis, one of my spirit guides. That she was actually, I would go down and didn't understand it at the time. I was just a child, but I would go down. They had these captive deer there. And I'd sit down there and talk to the deer away from all the people, because I was just one of them ones. I never got along with people. So I sat down there for many, many days that summer talking to the deer. It wasn't until probably 3 months ago, when I was talking to Artemis, that she explained to me and took me back in through a vision back to there. And she pointed out to me that her spirit creature is the deer. And to
I got
stay on,
goosebumps. Wow.
well, to stay on that about Artemis is I just learned to meditate, and I was at like about maybe I could meditate for about 20 minutes before my mind started wandering all over the place. And I kept having the same vision, and it'd be a green pasture, which green is good, that's hard energy, and it'd be a green pasture with deer in it every day. And like on the third day, I'm thinking, okay, this is the same exact vision I had the last 2 days. Well, the third time, the deer came and the deer staring me like a buck staring me right in the face. And it's sort of like, okay, this is something's not right here. So when I got done with the meditation, I looked it up on Google and they said that it could be my spirit guide trying to get in contact with me. So then I looked up and found out Artemis was the deer was Artemis. So once I did that, that was I think she was my third spirit guide that I had got to know. But that's how she got. It took every one of my spirit guides has said that I've been very difficult to get to understand or um, um, get my attention. Um, Only reason I understood Ascension Master Buddha is I was there and I'm walking back and forth. It's sort of like I'm talking to myself, or I feel like I'm talking to myself. And all at once I'm referring to myself as son, and I have an accent. It's sort of like, okay, I don't usually refer to myself as son. And that's how I
Right.
realized that I had Ascension Master Buddha was one of my spirit guides. And then Goddess Athena was, or no, oh, she was further down. Othelia was my first one, and that was I did a meditate one of the meditations I did to meet your spirit guides. And when I met her, couldn't hear, I could hear noise in my there, but it wasn't coming out clear where I could understand it. So she wrote her name in writing for me to to Othelia, um, for me to understand that she was my spirit guide.
Wow.
Um, and she's also spirit guide, guardian angel, whichever way you want to. But them were the first ones that I got. And see that when I tell you that saying of older than the wind but younger than the sun, that was one of the first songs when she was trying to get a hold to me or trying to get me to do, where she was sending me music. And the question of that was is, well, what am I here for? What are we here for? What, just basically what is going on? And that was one of the first songs that she'd sent me is
Wow.
see, I don't remember who did it. It's Into the Mystic is the song. And it
I'm gonna just hold on. Let me see, Joe.
okay.
Into the mystic. Into the mystic. You want to know what's really interesting? I don't know
But
if you saw that comment on the channel. One of our soul family members literally just put this song like maybe a week ago, Into the Mystic by Van Morrison.
yeah.
Literally. So that came through them. They made the comment on the channel. So was that Ophelia that was coming through, do you think?
Oh, that was from a give me a second here. Yeah, yes, that was Ophelia.
Can you believe
She
that?
well,
We're
by the way, she just answered me telling me yes, it was her.
I love it. I love it. That is so amazing how everyone we really are connected and see how our spirit guides work, how they just come through like that. Like she was talking to you, then it came over through another soul family member, which posted it on the channel, which I received it, then I listened to it. I need to listen to it again. And then now we're talking about it.
Yeah.
Wow. Tell her
Well,
thank you.
well, that's what I was telling you, that I'd been talking to them. And then when I first had you do a reading, I believe I asked you to do a Virgo reading.
Hmm.
Or if you were going to do Virgo reading that night, you were doing all of the signs, zodiac signs. And you said, yeah, and you did the Virgo. I think you might even skip to do Virgo and then drop back and did the other ones.
Yeah.
But that was actually me trying to figure out. I was still in my head. I was hearing these things, and you know how it is when you're talking to them. It's like it's just really, in a way, it's like your own thought, but it's not. It's stuff you
Hmm.
don't. you'll get answers to stuff you have not a clue about. And but that was one of the confirmations of during that time when I had you do the reading. It answered everything just the same. I mean, just like what my spirit guides had said, you nailed on there. I think I wrote you and said very accurate or very close and very accurate at what I was trying to find out. And the same with the next reading. They were both, I mean, spot on as far as what I needed to hear or the confirmation I needed to start understanding that I was getting I was really connecting to the spirit guides and understanding what it was going on because a lot of people I don't think understand just how confusing it can be that you'll go. I had time I went through. Okay, am I just simply going nuts, or is there, or
Yeah,
that you don't know? And in Dark Night of the Soul, that's one of the things you question about yourself. Okay, I'm getting this, but uh, I was raised. See, let's. That's something I should probably explain. Um, when I started doing this and first started doing this, my one of my teachers, Nada Moss, she's out of New York, that I'd taken her class to learn about uh, quantum theory, to understand the quantum theory. And she did a fabulous job at getting me to understand how the quantum works and how it works. But I forgot where I was going with that about her.
how you were
Uh,
raised, or in Dark
uh,
Night of the Soul.
oh, see, no, yeah, it's not triggering. That's one of the things I have trouble with. Certain times I'll everything just sort of blanks out.
That's
And
okay. Yeah, you were talking about how what people don't understand is you feel like sometimes you're losing your mind or going crazy when you start connecting to your guides.
well, yeah, that and see, Nada was the one that taught me. She said, first thing you need to do is when you have them, you tell them, "Let me feel your heart," and you can feel, and they'll let you feel their figurative heart. Any of them that say no, you don't want to really be talking to them or dealing with them anyhow, because there are spirits that are good and there are spirits that are there's no good and bad. There are spirits that are dark and there are spirits that are not. But that was one of the first things she taught me is to make sure that I always check their heart before I start letting them into my energy.
Right.
Um, well, and she taught me how stuff to do with like I was one of these ones. I had energy and um, Ascension Master Buddha for a long while in the very beginning called me his upside down child because I had all this energy, had no idea what to do with it, how to do it. And my wife, who's older, like 16 years older than I am, and she has dementia and manic depression, and I don't know how to put it. Anyhow, she goes into these dark, depressed times before I knew anything about this and how to do it. And I was first starting to meditate, and I said, well, let me have part of her, the pain that she's in of the depression, instead of understanding that you don't ever take somebody else's energy in, especially when they're in a dark space like that, in. And Nada explained to me and she taught me, no, you send energy to her to help her along. You don't take it in yourself. But in doing that, I learned just how dark and felt just how black that can be. And I can tell you right now, I that day I can honestly tell you I figured out what they mean by heaven and hell. Because when they're bipolar or manic depressive like that, when they're on a manic high, that's heaven. When they hit that manic low, where I mean she'll go for 6 months and all you hear is just how much she'd much rather be dead than alive.
Wow. Yeah.
And, and that's what she um, I learned that mostly from her. I learned different ways of dealing with the spirit guides. And of course, um, when I first started doing it, I told them told creator and all of them, I know nothing about what I'm doing here. Teach me. And they pointed out, and one of the messages they sent to her, because she had something that she told me to ask, and what they told message they sent to her is it doesn't matter about the frequency of this, doesn't matter about the frequency of that. Get the heart open, you get their heart open, and then the body. and mind will take care of the rest and adjust all of the frequencies to what they need to be as long as you get the heart open. And
Right.
then at that time you have the heart open is when you invite your spirit guides and the creator in, because they must be invited in, or they, people say, oh, I'm guy, but if you haven't invited them in, no,
That's
they
right.
are, you
You
have to physically.
you have exactly, Joe. Exactly. They give us the choice. God gives us the choice of the free will. We have to ask. Like, I need you. I need your help. I welcome you in. Please guide me. Please help me. It's like we need to do the asking, because they're not just going to barge in and take over. Like, we have to be vulnerable and open up our hearts and be like, I need you. I need your help.
Right. And just like one of my lessons, they pointed out, well, we have to ask them to come in. And a lot of people are going to say, well, I never asked the evil one to come in, or this one to come in, or the dark one to come in. What it is you hit on it very closely. There's other ways. Just from when you meet somebody, you talk to them, and you connect over something, you'll get a connection. If that person has bad energy, you've just invited that in when you connected with them. You just invited that energy in. Because anybody you come in contact with, anything they're in
Bingo.
contact with and have in there and have it cleaned out, you can get just like what I think you called it STD.
Sexually transmitted demon or spiritually transmitted demon. Yeah.
Yep. And
Mm-hmm.
that and they say, "Well, I never invited them in, so why do I have to?" And they don't understand if that they're attached to somebody else that you did invite in. They come in on the,
That's right.
so you have to watch. There's a lot of the stuff like that. It took me a long time to learn that. One of the things when I first finally started meditating, I told you the story about how Mother Gaia told me, "You're getting too much built up in you. You need to get outside and go barefoot in the yard." And
Mm-hmm.
for 3 or 4 days, I said, "Yeah, I'll do it tomorrow," and then I'd forget. "Yeah, I'll do it tomorrow," then I'd forget. Like I honestly think it was the fourth day, a weight ended up in the middle of the doorway that I have no idea how it got there. I hit my toe on it, broke my toe, couldn't put shoes on. I went out
She
barefoot
made
the next
you.
day. Yeah.
Joe, I'm telling you what, they're the same with me. That's what happens to me. Something will happen. Same with my kid, with Ryan. It's not
Well,
funny.
yeah. Well, my mistake over that, she pointed out to me on the third night. I said, "Hey, tomorrow, why don't you smack me in the head? That used to work good for my mom
Don't
to
do that
let me
because
know."
they'll do it.
Well, I got a broken toe out of it. But
Yeah.
the cool thing of that is I would be meditating outside and I could feel the energy building up. And all at once I'd hear in my head, "Put your foot on the ground." And I'm laying out in the sun on the chair, sunning, just sunning and relaxing, enjoying. But I am getting downloads at the time. But I could feel the energy building up in me. So putting my foot, so I'd put my foot on the ground. Next thing I'd hear is, "It'd work better if you'd take your shoes off." And I'm trying to, and that was when I
Seriously.
asked. That's when I'd ask you the question about remote viewing, if people could, if it could be some, because I'm still in the transition of trying to understand certain things. And that's when I asked you about, um, can they remote view? I didn't realize it was truly just Mother Gaia telling me what to do. Just like I would be sitting out in the lawn chair in the sun. All at once they'd say, and I have my eyes closed and doing breath work, looking up, look to the right a little bit. Okay, now open your eyes. And when I'd open my eyes, it was like different little things coming down, and it was truly just what I was seeing. Well, I shouldn't say if I did understand what she said. She said it was purely downloads and energy that I was able to see. And when she'd have me look at certain parts of the sky, that's where they're coming down from. You could see them, and it was just so strange because it's sort of like, look to the left. Okay, now up a little bit. And okay, now open your eyes. And then 5 minutes later, she's, "Okay, you can close your eyes." And I'd go back to my breath work. And to me, that was all just, put it this way, if I'm going nuts, I wish I'd have gone nuts probably about 10 years ago.
But you're so not because that's how they speak. It's like that voice. It's not like we're hearing voices, but it's them talking.
It's,
And
it's a knowing.
it's a knowing. It's knowing. And I'm sure you saw Sharon, how Sharon Hess on her podcast, she talked about that too. And she was funny because she's like, it's not like I hear voices. No, we don't hear voices. It's a knowing. Like, Okay, Joe, so like the other day, I had my cards still out after I did our daily gathering, and I was pretty tired. I'm like, I need to just like rejuvenate. And I heard my guides be like, "No, you're gonna put your cards away right now, put your stones on top of them, and then you can go sit." I was like, "Okay, you're the boss." Like they're like, "It's energy, Molly." So, but no, that's so true because people can remote view, but when you truly are when your guides when your spirit guides want to come through like that, they will be loud enough so you can hear them. And my experiences with people who have tried to remote view, they are not that loud. They try to be sneaky, and then my guides come through and they're like, "Psst, psst, by the way, this person," and I'm like, "Oh, okay." They're like, "We got it." Yeah, yeah. So
Well, I'm still having trouble with the communication sometimes with, especially when I get a new guide. And right now, one of the main things that they've been teaching me is they told me I need to stop using their names because if I'm talking to other people and I use the names, I'll end up with people trying to follow me and following me because, oh, his spirit guide is this. Oh, I like that. Or um, as the one put it, males will be males, so they think Goddess Athena is gorgeous, so they're going to follow me just because she's one of my spirit guides, and they don't understand they're all just extensions of the creator,
right.
and that it doesn't matter which ones they are. The names are purely for the human aspect; they are not for the other. And that's the
You're
second part of what
correct.
they've been. That's the second thing they've been trying to get me to do. Not only not to use their name when I'm talking to people, but the other thing is to feel their energy and know who it is just by their energy when they come into my energy field now. That you'd really enjoy. See, no, I'm not allowed to talk about that yet. Sorry. Something I've been working on, and one of the lessons that they took me to do, and I can tell you part of it is something really bad came into my energy, and it was a test to see how I would do at um, heading it off. And the creator stepped in, and Michael and a couple of them all stepped in and took over and did what it was. But I was still, I observed it and had to, it was to all part of my lessons of, um, okay, we're going to leave that there. I was just told.
Yeah, because I'm getting concerned. I'm sure they can sense me because I don't know if I'm like now because yeah, I want to make sure you're okay.
Well, I'm allowed to share it. I've already asked, I tell you, I asked permission before I started sharing a bunch of
Yeah,
stuff with you, and they said I'm allowed to share with you. But
I
since it's going
understand.
out on the podcast, I
Right.
may,
No, that's
we'll leave
understand.
that part at where it is.
Right.
Um,
Right. Yeah,
okay,
I
your
get
turn.
that.
Next question.
I respect that. I do. I am gonna say this. I'm really grateful that everyone stepped in. I'm gonna just say that much. I'm really glad that they stepped in. So, okay, next question. Um, oh, I want to go back to what you were saying though, real quick, because this is interesting. That's so true. Um, and incredible that you got that message because the names really, what people need to understand is, yeah, there is no good nor bad. But everything is truly an extension of God, the creator. So like all of our guides, every single one of them is an extension. So I thought that was really cool that you said that. I just wanted to reiterate because that is amazing. And that's in like my prayer book too, because the human mind, we put names and label things so that way we can process, you know? Okay, Joe, what triggered your spiritual journey and awakening?
Okay, the triggered. I honestly don't know if I've been on the spiritual journey all my life, but this part of the spiritual journey was triggered. Um, Okay, I tell you, my wife is 16 years older than I am. She's definitely narcissist, and I've definitely got a codependent. It's narcissist codependent relationship there. But she, with the dementia and everything, she's so bad she can't be left alone. But here about at the end of COVID, about 3, maybe 4 years ago, right there, she had to have her pacemaker changed. Well, I took her to the hospital, and we had the appointment to take her have her pacemaker changed. Well, it's the first time they ever made me sign all the paperwork because of her dementia had gotten that bad. Second thing that happened while she was there, they put a 5 year battery in instead of a 10-year battery. Stupid me. Well, why are you only putting a 5 year battery in instead of the 10 year? And the guy told me point blank, it's because her health status has been put into the computer and the computer spits out what battery we should put in her. So in my mind, it went, oh, okay, the computer's saying she's not living more than 5 more years, that from her health and everything. And that sent me off on I don't know what you'd call it, just like a panic of being afraid of being by myself. And I should probably back up and point out at this point in time, I'd already lost Joe. I was no longer Joe. I was my wife's caretaker, not Joe that takes care of his wife. I'd already lost Joe at that point in time. That I was basically taking care of her and waiting around to die is the best way. I was taking 180 milligrams of morphine a day, plus Percocet 10s 6 times a day, and all prescribed by the doctor from when my leg was crushed in 2004. Which, for anybody that like to know, it's been mm, quite a few years since I've not been taking the Percocet now, or any of the pain medicines. That I use all natural remedies, and it works far better than the chemicals. Anyhow, I was going through that and still having trouble worrying about, okay, she's going to die and I'm going to be by myself. And like I said, I was lost. I wasn't Joe. My identity became my wife's caretaker, not Joe, the one taking care of his wife. Well, I got her better from having the pacemaker done and everything. And it took about 3 to 4 months. Then I took her to see one of her girlfriends in a nursing home. And the nurse said, nope, they've all been tested for COVID. They're all good. Next morning, we got a call that her girlfriend had COVID and went to the hospital. And then
God.
that, like 2 hours later, my wife had started getting sick and had the COVID also. But that was still during the time when if you put them in the hospital, um, you couldn't stay with them and couldn't be. They didn't allow they when they tore families apart, so you couldn't
Right.
be with your loved one. If they did die, you weren't able to be there. So I made the option to just take care of her here at home. That took about 6 months. Needless to say, added on to the hospital and everything that was going on there, that just kept pushing me down further and further. Well, then I got her better from the COVID, and she's doing better from that. I didn't lock one of the locks on the door of the house because she has dementia. She went out at 3 o'clock in the morning, went for a walk, got about half mile down the road, fell, broke her hip, ended up laying in the road, waiting for somebody to come by in the middle of the road until about 5:30, 6 o'clock. And one of the guys that goes to work early saw her there, and he came and got me, and we got her up, and then we took her. I took her, sent her, went to the hospital, and she'd broke her hip. Well, after all of this had happened, I was watching a podcast, and I tell you, I had a lousy childhood. I didn't go into the part of my childhood where I have a brother that was a pedophile, and my parents covered it up because of their shame. And yeah, I understand everything to do with it. Don't blame them anymore, but had all of that in there. But I was watching a podcast. Well, in the podcast, some reason it triggered, and I started watching it, and it had a trigger where I wanted to talk to it. Anyhow, a scammer came on, and I didn't realize, didn't understand how that worked at the time. I ended up talking to the scammer and telling him my whole childhood story and everything like that, which is like hour and a half or 2 hours long. Told him the whole story. And then it turned out to be a scammer, not the actual person that was doing the podcast, who I thought it was.
Okay.
It, well, that triggered me to have, I don't know what you'd call it, go off the deep end. Anyhow, for the next 6 months, all I did was keep following that same podcast. And I kept putting notes in there and saying stuff and having these scammers that follow yours,
Yeah.
having them follow for over 6 months. I reported over 300 between 350 and 500 people that were pretending to be this person. And my therapy was every one of them that I talked to, I told them that full entire story, 2.5 hours long, about how bad my childhood was, everything
Oh,
like that.
wow.
And so every one of them had to listen to it, and I had learned how to weasel them around so they didn't know. So I used
It
the
was therapy session.
yeah, for free therapy. They were trying to rip me off, so I felt it was fair games for therapy. But after 6 months, all at once, it sort of like something clicked in my head. Okay, I'm better with that. I'm not a victim of that anymore. I understand and I started understanding things. And then I'd found Nada Moss, and then she started. I talked to her like 3 or 4 months, and then finally took her course. And then after that, she opened up a lot of the doorways for me, and I had to be the one walk through them, but she showed me how to get to the doorways, is what I
Right.
guess you'd say, a spirituality.
Of course.
Um, and then it's from then. And by the way, I've only been actually able to meditate, might be a year and a half right now. And the actual spiritual on this journey this time. Okay. I think I got you all caught up.
That's awesome. I know I'm absorbing every single thing that you're saying. Um, while you have Ascended Master Buddha, who
Yeah.
will help you on that journey of meditation. I'm sure that just came through.
Yes.
That just, um, would you, um, how do you want to assist the planet and all the individuals here with your knowledge and your journey?
Well, I'm still trying to figure that part out. And this is step one in me trying to understand how to share it with, because if I had was given my choice and I had the money, I'd buy 100 acres of property and I'd be in the dead center of it. And there wouldn't be roads in to get to me. So you'd have to walk a few hours to come visit. Because I always figured if somebody will take and spend a couple hours to walk, a couple hours to get to visit, there's somebody you really want to visit with them.
Yeah,
I, I I'm very much with taking care of a wife with dementia and manic depression. I've been trying to figure it out, and I think I've actually been in hermit mode for probably close to 10 years now, or more. Could be more. That I don't go out and do anything other than Walmart for shopping, doctors, drugstore. That's it.
exactly. And we talked about the energy at when you go to Walmart. We discussed that. I feel ya.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh yeah. Well, that's one of the things that Nada had taught me is how to go into Walmart and block them ones going in there. But it was so strange. From before that, I'd go into Walmart, I'd go shopping, all excited to go to Walmart, and then I'd get in the store and sort of like all I could think of was I got to get out of
Out
this
of
store.
here.
And I didn't realize, and Nada was the one that I believe that pointed out to me, well, think about it. It's Walmart. Do you think there's really not at least one employee in there just thinking, I got to get out of here? So I was picking up on their feeling of that, just not wanting to be at work. And I
Of
can relate to that.
of course.
If I
Well,
worked at Walmart, I wouldn't want to be there either.
and not just that, but just all the different energies like of people who maybe you don't know what happened that day. Maybe they were, had a stressful day or they're dealing with this and dealing with that. So not only do you have that, someone wants to get out of there, let's say there is somebody, and then there's someone else who has other energy that maybe is not the most cleansed or high vibrational, right? So you're feeling all of that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, but now that I've learned how to control, or not really great at controlling it yet, but how to feel it, I've had to go and get x-rays done, and there's probably 50 to 100 people there. And I actually enjoyed the energies and realized, okay, nope, bad energy over there. So I moved over here in the room. Okay, this is good over here. And I learned to feel from doing that it was a whole lot better than when you get overwhelmed with that, just, I got to get out of here feeling.
Right.
that, but a lot of this is I'm just learning, and it's a wonderful journey, but it's sort of like sometimes it's very, very confusing.
Yeah, it can be. And I think that's important for people to hear too, that it can be confusing or overwhelming, and we're constantly learning more and more. And like I know for me, Joe, like people will come to me, and then they'll tell me a bunch of information, and God will be like, Molly, it's okay. Like just take time for yourself and integrate. And whatever I want you to know out of that information, I'm gonna allow you to download and process. And then at a later date, I'll give you more because we're all constantly getting our own knowledge and downloads and messages, and it can be a lot. So,
Okay, Ascension Master Buddha just told me that I should share with you one of the when he first started. The reason that he calls me his upside down child. I was talking to I stupidly let a person I knew use one of my I think it was the Cash App, and she was selling stuff to different people, but her Cash App wasn't working, or I don't remember exactly what the deal was. Anyhow, she was all worried because somebody she owed money to, which was surprisingly enough from Houston area, and she's kept saying he's a gangster or something like this. And she's talking to me the one day on the phone. So I said, "Well, put him on the phone." And she put him on the phone. He's trying to act all bad and gangster, and I had to set the phone down on my dresser because I couldn't hold on to it anymore because I was shaking so bad. I just learned what Kundalini
Kundalini rising.
energy was. So what I was doing is I was tightening up my backbone and my having it come, and I'd run it all the way up to about my neck, and then I'd let it settle back down. And I did that like 6 or 8 times during the day. Well, then I went and I'm talking to him on the phone, and he's trying to act all gangster to me and everything like that. Anyhow, in my mind, all I could think of is somebody really needs to slap the piss out of this guy or choke the piss out of him so he understands how to treat people. And at the time, I'd set my phone down on the dresser so I could talk to it, and I was holding on to the dresser. I was squeezing the dresser so hard that both my arms turned white all the way up to the elbow. And all at once, the girl Ava came back on, and she said, "So and so's choking or something like that." And she said, "I'll have to talk to you tomorrow." And she shut it off. And the next day, she swore up and down, and she said it's because he was a big ex-football player, and his T-shirt was around his neck and pulling on his neck to and choking him. So he's gasping for air was what the problem was. And I left it at that. But that was why Ascension Master Buddha, because I got to understanding and realized both arms are totally white from me squeezing on the dresser, thinking somebody really needs to choke the piss out of that guy to get him to understand how to
Crazy.
treat people. And I freaked out about it and tried. I didn't know enough about the energies and stuff. And I'm thinking, could I have actually sent that kind of energy through and caused him to be choking? And I didn't know for sure if I did or not. And that was one of the um, things that I talked to Ascension Master Buddha about. And then that's when he gave me the name of his upside down child, because he said I had far more energy than I knew how to handle at the time.
Yeah. No,
And
absolutely. Absolutely. You can. Did I tell, and I'm gonna join in with this because it's interesting. So I was talking to Nancy yesterday, um, and we were chatting for a little bit. We wanted to discuss some things, and it she I told her that I had to do taxes. So we ended up doing Ryan's, but I have to go in for mine. They're just too complicated. But I go, yeah, I have to do my tax. Oh no, first she asked me, Jill, how the weather is. And I said, the weather is beautiful. It's sunny here. It's like 70s. She's like, yeah, it sounds perfect. I'm like, yeah, it is. So then we start talking about taxes. And she goes, yeah, it's supposed to be pouring rain this weekend. So I think I'll do my taxes then. And I said, I love the rain. It is so beautiful. I love the weather here now, but I love the rain. I sent this text to Nancy, do you know, like maybe 10 minutes after we discussed it and got off the phone, it started thundering and pouring rain here. Uh-huh.
I, that
I'm
I
telling you.
I totally understand that. I've had when I was first starting out, I would be it was had overcast and cloudy, and I'd go out and look at it, and just think to myself, I wish the clouds would clear. I got like 30 minutes. I could go out and get 30 minutes of
Uh-huh.
sun, and then I'll all at once I'll look out and the sun's out, and I'll go out there, and a couple of them times you could have almost set your watch by how long the clearing in the clouds would be. It would
Yeah.
be right at about 29 or 30 minutes. Um, oh, I don't know if I want to share that one with people or not.
You can always
What's it?
tell me.
Um, I have another one that I had a problem with internet and with porn. I asked my spirit guides, I said, could you help me with this or help me out with this? I said, I don't know what to do, why I'm doing it, or what's going on. And I made the comment of, you could shut off my internet for 3 days or something like that. My internet went off within 10 minutes and it was off for almost exactly 3 days
Oh,
and solved
wow.
the problem.
That's
So
great. That's great. That's
does that tell
funny.
you they pay attention to you?
They do.
Well, that was one of the other things that I was going to talk to you about on this is a lot of people don't understand that childlike, that it says that you need to be childlike. Um, like a child, um, a little child believes everything until they're shown that it's not. It'd be very similar to, I believe it was Peter that was walking on water out to Jesus, but only once he looked down and saw that he was walking on the water did he start to sink into the water
Right. Right.
because it went into his mind, I can't do that. When it wasn't in his mind, he was able to walk, and once he looked back at Jesus, he was able to walk on water the rest of the way out.
That's right.
But it was in his mind. It was only when it came. And when they say childlike, children don't think about they can't do it. They try and do just about
They
everything
believe
that
they can do everything.
right. And that is what the reference to being in that where it says the creator wants us to be childlike and believe in everything.
That's
And
right.
that actually fits right into the quantum. Because remember what they say on the quantum. If one person believes it, if two people believe it, well, now it's getting to be more of a possibility. If you get thousands of people believing it, it's going to be.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's right. But
Oh,
no, they they do hear us. I mean, if people think that they're not being heard or seen, they are. Um, and also the power of our energy as well, where we focus our energy, we have the ability to do really incredible things, which is amazing. Um,
well, one of my first ways that they had me to learn how to move my energy around, okay, have me hum. And the vibration, you could feel the humming in your mouth when you're humming. Then they'd say, okay, now send that vibration to your toes and make it where you don't feel it in your mouth anymore. All you feel it is in your toes, and then send it to your fingers. Not because that's all you're doing is sending energy and sending that. And it was kind of same thing ventriloquists do with throwing their voice. It's very similar. Um, but that was one of my see, I don't remember which one it was, but that was one of my things that I had to do was just sit and keep doing that. That was my journey. And when I first started out, I felt like I should be doing something other than just sitting in the sun and getting the downloads and asked, what can I do? And Mother Gaia pointed out the earth needs loving energy. Just sit and keep pulling in energy, cleaning it, and releasing it to the trees, to the people at the time. I think Ukraine was going on and a bunch of that. And that was one of the things that she said, just share it with them. And that was one of my lessons. They pointed out, don't just share it with the ones that you think are having a bad side. Share it with both of them because you share that energy with the
of
one
course.
side that's bombing. That might be just the thing that triggers in their head. yeah, maybe I won't fire this shell this time, or there any little thing like that.
That's right. Dude, I'm telling you, we are all connected and our guides are just brilliant because that was a conversation I had with Nancy yesterday too. We talked about people who um are not operating from their heart space or people who are a bit colder. Um, and asking. So not only so we can send it, but also asking, God and our team, okay, under grace, can you assist me? I want to send this loving energy, right? To this person so they operate from a more loving space, not, so they heal. They have to want to receive it, yes, but we can still send out that loving energy. It's funny because it came up yesterday. Um, to
That
have
reminds me
kinder
another.
sentiments. So that
Mhm.
way, like the bombing, so like maybe both sides, we send it to everyone and then they soften, hopefully.
Yeah, that reminds me of another one of the songs that. Okay, oh, okay, it was Ophelia sent me a song, Metallica, "Nothing Else Matters." She sent it to me to give to Nada Moss, and it was a song I've listened to probably 1,000 times, but it's one of them. It was a lesson for me because she said, no, send it and then listen to it and read the words of it. And right in it, it says, for another view, open up your mind and listen for another view on it.
Right,
And that hit so hard to me that it's sort of like, wow, I've listened to this song how many times, how many concerts, and I never got that from the song.
right.
And even if you read what the songwriter says it's not really about what I'm talking. But it's sort of like, that is what it truly says: is open up your mind. That you don't worry about what everybody else is thinking or saying or doing. Open up your mind, and you get another view of it.
That's right. That's right. I love it, Joe. Thank you. Um, okay. Any guidance or knowledge that from your experiences that you would like to share with everybody?
Well, we can share the. I was talking to you before about the twin flame journey. That the way I've learned about the twin flame is the creator actually. When I asked about it, he explained that original twin flames. Now there are, as he put it, there are what um, people consider twin flames and everything, not to where they think it's a soul. He said, but the flame is in the energy because when we are first energy, then we are a spirit, and then when we sign up for our soul contract, some of us sign up for one where we come to Earth for one lifetime. Like this time, I'm here for 15 lifetimes. And at the end of that 15 lifetimes, the knowledge I gathered, which is this time, is to help guide humanity. How I'm supposed to help guide humanity, I don't know, but I do know the Creator will show me at that time. Just like when I was first, I think I told you, I was worried I need to start talking to more people instead of being a hermit so much and get myself out and start talking to people. And in one of my visions, he sent me a door and a boot. And I asked him, well, and he simply said, do you not think I would, if it's time for you to, I would not just boot you out the door? And what do you mean? Of course, it's not literally boot me out of the door, but
Yeah,
you'd give me a power or whatever it took to push me out the door. It was just a vision to show me what was going on. Just like we were working on one thing. It's right near the end of my lesson. I was talking to him, and he asked me. He said, "Would you like to see where I'm from, where I came from?" Well, the answer was, "Oh, absolutely." Everything in my vision went totally black. No stars, nothing, just totally black. Then all at once you'd see just a little blink of energy. Then it'd get a little bigger, then it'd get a little bigger. And then during this, he started talking. He said, "Oh, by the way, sorry, no Big Bang." He says there was Big Bangs, but they were for they were for certain reasons. They weren't just the accidental starting of the energy. That the energy kept going. And part of what I started to tell you about that told me to stop, is to do with free um, creation. It's exist when the creator came into existence to do with the energy. And there's a bunch of stuff to do with that that I still learning about, so I don't know what I can share on that or not. But it still goes down to that. He showed me where he came from. He's another vision he showed me at a different time. We were working on something, and I kept hearing this in my hearing. Surf's up. Sort of like, what the heck is that about? I thought it was Hermes or one of them just screwing around because Hermes is a likes to play games and mess with you, or well, he likes to mess with me anyhow. And what he did was, the creator said, "Do you want to go surfing?" Well, absolutely. In my vision, we went surfing, and what we are actually doing is it's the energy's coming off the sun, and he was telling me, okay, reach down and feel this color energy down there. Okay, can you feel that? And he told me to stay out of certain energies at the bottom of it where it was real dark and real black. And I said, why? He says, because that's gonna too strong for you at this time. But there was like 5 or 6 of us, and all it was is we were like on surfboards, but we're surfing the energies coming off the sun. That's a plasma burst coming off the sun, and he's done that a couple times, and it's just the whole time the purpose of showing me that is he told me I was getting too focused on it and that I should relax and enjoy. And the whole time we're doing that, he's asking me questions and we're doing stuff. So what he was doing is showing me you can have fun and still be learning and still doing your lessons. Stop taking it so seriously, because I have
Right.
this very bad habit of going head on into everything. That OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, that once I get it in my mind, I'm headed that way, and that's all I'm. Everything else falls
The
to the
tunnel
wayside.
vision.
Yep, and
Yeah.
that's what he was trying to break me of, and or he did break me of, and told me no, relax and enjoy it. And now, if I get
Yeah.
myself caught in a loop where I'm sitting there over something, all at once, either Hermes or the different ones will come in, and will um, Hermes. Part of what he was taking me to do is I told you, taking me and I was helping with souls that are trapped in between worlds. That the large percentage of them, I'll go in just a couple of them that he first took me to. There was kids in the hospital. They'd passed away, but they hadn't moved on. What was happening is they were laying in the bed, but technically they're dead, and their spirit was there, and their spirit's out of the body, but their spirit didn't know what to do or how to go. They couldn't
Right.
go any further because the people in the room were all attached to them and had tethered to them, so they couldn't get and go move on. So what he taught me is how to use the sword that one of the gifts I got from Michael, and use the sword to cut the tethers so that they could move on. And then you escort them. For me, it's like a hallway with a little light at the end of it. You escort them down. But when you get down to a certain spot, it was sort of like I couldn't go any further in the vision. And he explained to me, no, they must do from here through that on their own. You can't walk them through that. You can't hold them. They must do it on their own.
Right.
And we for about 3 to 4 weeks. That's all we did every night. He would take me and we'd go to different ones, and they're all different. They're car accident victims and stuff, but they're all trapped in between the two worlds. They're not in the spirit world, and they're not in the human world anymore. And the large percentage of them, it was people holding on to them at the hospital.
Yeah, because they
That's
couldn't let them go. Yeah, that attachment, the
and
earthly attachment. Yeah.
once you helped and cut the tethers for them, they were able to move on. And but one of Okay. Yeah. But one of the biggest things was the fact that they had to walk that last bit on their own. Same as we can get guidance and help, and
That's
we can
right.
help them, but we can't do it for them, same as they can't do it for us.
Exactly. Absolutely. Like we can all guide each other, but you're right. It's our individual choices and steps that we have to take to continue on to make those changes. Yeah.
And
Awesome.
another one that you would like is Hades took me to show. Oh, I'm using the name. Anyhow, one of my spirit guides took me to the underworld. I wasn't allowed to do anything there, but let me listen to the people that are trapped in the underworld. There's no people under the earth or in like the underworld like that. It showed where everybody that's in the underworld, they're trapped in their own head. There was women that they're worried their husband's going to cheat on them, and that's where they're stuck at. He even pointed out to me people that are religious, but they're so religious to the point they won't hardly make two steps without stopping and saying a prayer and asking permission to make the third step. I don't know if you understand what I mean by that,
I do.
but
Hmm.
that's what he's pointing out. Them are the ones that are actually in the underworld. And again, the only one that can get them out of there, we can't go take them out of there. We can give them information, but they have to pull themselves out of there.
Yeah. Interesting. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Joe. All
Oh,
right.
you're welcome.
Um, is there anything else that you feel guided that you want to share with people?
Let's see. I know there's a bunch more, but right now everything's going blank. So I'm
Yeah.
uh,
So,
there's there's far more that I wanted to talk to you about, but I don't right now. I can't even remember it. When I'm walking, I'll remember 30 different things that I wanted to talk to you about. But when I'm walking, I don't have a way of writing it down so that I can remember to talk to you about it. Yes.
do you have anything that you can share if you want with the is it the super soldier program or what is that what we were talking about before?
Oh, you're talking about during the Korean War
Oh,
and Vietnam War years ago. My older brother, the one that was a pedophile, was part of that. That I can tell you this, his okay. I'll be real brief about this, and I'll try to not be too graphic. He went into the military army in the 50s, late 50s. He was in Korea. He went in with his best friend, and they were on guard duty together. They're in a 50-foot tower. They heard a howler, whistle, some kind of a missile that it sounds like a whistle when it's going, and they turned that direction. And when my brother turned back, all that was left of his best friend that he went into the military with was the hand that he was holding on to. And my brother
oh,
went backwards out of the 50-foot tower, landed on his head. They took him and put him in the super soldier program, and they were using a form of LSD on them to try and reprogram them to become better soldiers. Well, then they he got out of the military, and he was a pedophile. He was molesting his um, stepdaughter and stepson. I told my parents, and we moved to Georgia right away and didn't do anything about it. And they just told me, don't ever say anything to anybody. Well, I can't tell you how much longer later after that it was that his biological daughter, wasn't born yet. But after she was born, when she was 10 months old, his mind was so fried that he tried to have sex with a 10-month-old child and almost killed her. She almost bled to death, and she can't have children. And she's lives here in Florida now. But when her mother kept a certain check that they received, and the thing that was funny about it, the first check they got, the lump sum first amount that they got, was from the CIA, not the Veterans Administration. And she said her mother put it away and said, if anything ever happens, get that out and make sure people know about that was to do with the super soldier program, that when they're doing it, that they basically messed up his mind. He didn't
yeah.
know what he was doing. And so he spent the next 25 or 30 years in a mental hospital. And
Wow.
that's that's all I knew about it. I'd looked up some stuff, and I found out that he was part of a secret soldier program. But I I had a bad time when she wanted to learn stuff about my brother. And I had to point out to her I was 4 years old last time I'd seen him, maybe
Right.
5.
Right.
And I know he molested my two of my nephews, one of my nieces, and he was molesting his stepchildren. And I'm going to say, from things that I can remember, bits and pieces here and there, he more than likely molested me too, but I don't really remember it. And one of them, I thought about trying to do hypnosis and go back and see if I could remember it. But then it's sort of like, do I really want to go back there? I forgave him. He was messed up. I don't believe it was his fault. I believe it was something to do with the super soldier
The
program
program.
and and them pumping him full of LSD, trying to reprogram him. And the reprogramming, because when you reprogram, you break them down to nothing, and then you build them back up. Well, when you're using drugs doing that, you don't always build them back up exactly sane, I guess you'd have to put it.
Right.
You know,
Right. Oh my gosh. Thank you, Joe, for that. Thank you.
oh,
I
you're
think,
welcome.
yeah, because I really think that's going to help people who maybe need information on it or have possibly experienced something, something like it, but don't know. Um, you know, so that's really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, well, that was one of the things that, like I said, I never settled that with my parents. That when I was a kid, they told me that, and I was a good kid and didn't say anything. After I was living in Florida and married, they came down to visit us one time, and they were supposed to stay for 3 weeks because Wisconsin was really cold. And they didn't like, they wanted to stay in Florida for the 3 weeks. I said, "You're welcome to stay with us for the 3 weeks." And on like the third day they were there, I got nerve enough up to ask them about Larry and about the stuff where they said not to do that and all of the stuff. They pretended they didn't hear me, and they said a couple other things, and I didn't pursue it anymore after I'd asked them. I knew they'd heard me and everything. They just ignored the question, and they're supposed to be there 3 weeks. Would you know? Next morning, my dad said, "Yeah, it's getting kind of too hot here in Florida, so we're going to head back up north to the Carolinas to one of my sisters." And that was the last time I'd ever saw them. That
Wow.
I, I will take blame for saying I didn't react very well to it. I just thought that was them not. I didn't understand that they were ashamed. They didn't want to
Yeah,
talk about it because they were ashamed. That's their child. And at the time, and there was another instance with me also that they protected the adults, not the children. And I, I'm sorry, I'm positive that's part of the reason why I'm so protective of children as opposed to adults.
of course.
Uh, that was in my training with the creator and a bunch of them. That's one of the things that he pointed out that I have is a weakness that I have to watch out for and to make sure the dark ones that I watch, because the dark ones will use a weakness like that to come after you if they know you have a weakness in children. That's what they'll use to try and
To try and
get
hurt
to you.
children. Yeah. Yeah. I was ordered to protect my son no matter what by the Most High and by my team. Um, even though I don't know if so I think you understand that too. Like I do
Oh
believe
yeah.
that we have a duty to protect the children. Absolutely. Because adults are now adults and they can learn to protect themselves. Children should be free, but they need to be protected. Absolutely. I mean, we all need
How's
to be free, but they're children.
how's Ryan doing now?
He's doing good. He's doing
Well,
wonderful.
you said he was going through like a dark night of the soul.
Oh, he was going through. It was a brief one. Yeah. He kind of had his spiritual awakening to where he was going inward. He's like, asking for more guidance, more clarity, certain purposes of his life. I was really proud of him. I think it was his first,
Well, I got a
not his
question.
first. Yeah.
Did he start doing that after we were talking last week on the phone? Because I know he was there, and I don't know if he could hear me and you talking or not. But I know you told him to say hello the one time, when we were talking. Now, I just came across something and I saw a thing where they said there are certain ones among us that if he heard us talking, it could have actually been because you carry masculine and feminine energy, but you don't carry certain masculine energies that I would carry. And it doesn't have to be anything, but just that energy being there while we were talking could trigger that. That's why I was just curious about. I just heard this and I didn't know that it could actually trigger like that. I thought it had to be more actual contact, and this guy is very good, and he's been doing it from Hawaii, and he's a Actually, his podcast was just this morning or last night.
I
Anyhow,
asked I asked Ryan when it started. He said it had started a couple weeks prior.
okay.
Um, so he had been going through it for a couple weeks. And I know it's not the first time, but I mean, I'm sure that the energy could help trigger things or spark things with all the different energies as well.
Well,
So
see,
it
I
could be a
didn't.
combination.
Well, see, to me, I immediately think, oh, you're highly spiritual, so any downloads or anything would come from you. But then in the explanation, the guy says, no, not everybody carries all the same energies. And in certain cases, and he used specifically male, he said sometimes a male will have to get certain masculine energies from another male. They don't have to be given or anything like that. That once they come in contact, he said you could be walking down the street and just stop in a Burger King where you're in the same place with them and be talking. They could just hear something over it, and then the energies will attach and go and trigger. Um,
Yeah,
and
I don't know.
I
I
don't
don't
know. I
think so. Yeah, I don't think so. Not,
okay.
yeah, I don't think that happened. He said it happened a couple weeks prior it was going on. Um, so no. And he's pretty protected with his energy with his guides. And keeps his energy really cleansed. So I don't think so. That's not the message I'm getting. But I mean, anything is possible. You just never know.
Yeah, well, and the only way I know of it is to ask, and the
Yeah.
perfect one for me to ask is ask
It,
you about,
yeah, I don't know. I'll ask my guides, but I don't know. Um, but that does, yeah, I mean, and he just taught it. I don't know. I'm gonna ask that question. I'll let you know. I'll get back to you on that one, Joe, because I don't
okay,
want to answer
well,
something I'm not sure about. Yeah,
well,
yeah,
well, that's why I ask is because
yeah,
I'm a firm believer the only stupid question is the one you don't ask. That
yeah,
if you don't understand something, say, oh, be open about it. Say it. It's otherwise you're lying to yourself or cheating yourself.
yeah. Just gonna go and I'm gonna ask my guides. I'm gonna go into meditation and prayer and be like, okay, can you give me an answer to that, please? Because I don't know that answer. Well, yeah, and then I'll let you know. That's cool. Thank you for
Okay.
mentioning that. Yeah,
Well, I didn't know, and I didn't know it, and it's just sort of like this podcast. And during the podcast, and I heard this guy saying it, so I got to ask Molly that. And it wasn't like I had to think about it a little bit first. It's sort of just as soon as I'd heard it, okay, I need to ask Molly about that. So I use that a lot of times when certain things pop in my head just immediately
right.
like that. That okay, that's guided to be there because it's not something I was really thinking about during that time. I was trying to pay attention to him, but that part stuck. I cannot tell you any other part of his entire podcast.
Yeah, I think it would depend on the spiritual being. So what I'm getting right now is it's gonna depend on the how protected their energy is. Like our house is very protected. So unless it's like, yeah, I'm getting a no on that.
Okay.
But I want to ask more because I always like to be thorough. So I definitely want to get more because that's so interesting.
Well, you're more than likely like me. You're going to take the no. Okay, it's no, but why or
That of course I'm inquisitive. Why not ask more,
That's why I
That
said that's the
yeah,
best part of this is all the learning is just so much fun and um,
yeah,
from the spirit world. There's none of this having to. Okay, who did he hear it from? Who did he hear it from? Or any of that. It's coming directly from the source. You don't need to.
exactly.
You don't have to fact check it. Is what I guess.
Exactly. It is coming straight from source, the fabulous source. So, um, and that's what's beautiful about being able to ask those questions. You can sit and literally ask and you shall receive. You know,
Well, from what I can't talk to you about after it was over with, I got two gifts. I got dueling swords from the creator, and then Osceola gave me a native. He told me to look it under up the symbolization under the Native American blanket, and it was a blanket weaved. and it had three wolves on it. And he said there's a significance to do with the three wolves, and there's significance of receiving a blanket from a Native American
Wow.
tribe. And then were the
Wow.
last two gifts I got. Actually, that was this morning. I got them because I'm up at like 2:30 in the morning, so I got them this morning. Um, after, oh wow, I just realized what I was just telling you about. I just was part of this morning's lessons.
You know what's funny?
But
I just did the reading for today right before our podcast. So I have to release it because right now it's unlisted. And in it came through was a Native American. I was like, somebody could have a Native American spirit guide. So something came through. So I don't know. That's interesting.
well, I have Native American spirit. Actually, I have multiple ones. I have Nana, which is actually, she explained it to me. I would be like a 32nd grand 30. Oh, okay. She just told me I'm 30th grandchild removed. So I'm 30 generations down from her.
Oh, that's awesome. So cool. So
And I
cool.
call her Nana. She's told me her name. She spelled me her name. I cannot pronounce it. And see, since names are just for us, Nana is just my name for her. As she said, she doesn't care. And she actually happy
Likes
with
it.
that.
Yeah. My mom, who is now just in the spirit, Ryan called her Nana. So that's awesome. All right, Joe. Anything else you want to leave with people before we do this next time? Because I'm hoping you'll do it again.
Oh, I'm sure we'll do it again because I have so much more. Because that was one of the things I was going to tell you today. Walking and stuff going through my head is, oh man, what if I go too long? And it's so she can cut out certain parts of it and um, do multiple shows with it if it had to be. But and I forgot to put the disclaimer at the beginning that when I was 17, I became a sailor. When I was 21, I became a construction worker. Construction slowed down. When I was 31, I became a truck driver. So if my language ever veers off, you understand why.
That's awesome, Joe. That was so cute. Thank you.
You're
Oh, that
welcome.
was too cute. All right,
And
everyone.
anybody that wants to get a hold of me, all they have to do is watch your podcast and watch your readings, and they'll see me comment on it, and I pay attention. They can contact me through there. I
Okay.
don't, other than um, I don't know that I'm ready to start making contact with a bunch of people yet. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I get that. I get that. So yeah, you can find Joe. Joseph will be on the channel. You'll see him on the podcast, one of our soul family members. All right, everyone. Thank you, Joe, so much for coming on. This was awesome.
Oh, you're welcome, and thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. You're so
All
welcome.
right.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining me and Joe. We love you guys, and we hope you have a fantastic evening. And we pray that you're always surrounded by the Most High God's love, protection, and blessings. Bye, everyone. Bye, Joe.
Bye.